right, folks, how you doing? We'll get started here in a few minutes, about a 2-minute start time from now. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope you're doing good. All right, about 1 minute to start time. 1 minute to start time. All right, we'll get started in about a minute, a little less. Glad you like the groovy music, Gene says. All right. All right, just wanted to quickly come on and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays this year. And we're going to get started in just a couple seconds here, but we welcome everybody here. And if you're watching the recording, great to have you here as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and dig in here and see what we can do. All right. First thing we want to tell you is we do this every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll be here next week on New Year's Day as well. We want you to make sure you like, subscribe, and share to our event here and pass it on to friends. One of the great things about this particular session that we realized kind of after the fact was that in its own way, it became almost like a stock picking service, simply because when we get enough people here and they share their stock picks, we always usually find one or two that may be really good for the rest of the group. So don't forget that, and try to come often, because I think it's really beneficial to you to have that kind of opportunity each and every week. All right, so a few things to discuss before we get into the material in terms of risks involved in trading. I think everybody knows there's risk in trading, but like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand. But we do want to make sure you realize the potential risk in trading. Everything we do in trading is done in a realm of probabilities, and make sure you contact your financial advisor, accountant, or attorney to be sure any of the ideas or recommendations that we suggest here are suitable for you. Because we don't know your personal situation, they do, so it's always a good idea to make sure you run it by somebody who is managing your money. All right, the other thing too is make sure you trade with risk capital. This is money you can afford to risk on a daily basis, and of course know how to do risk control. And if you need help with that, definitely come to our website because we can help you with risk control. I've written several books, all published by major publishers that are available at some of the major bookstores like Barnes & Noble or even Amazon. Most people, I think, today go to Amazon to get our books. But I start out with the Trader's Money Management System and work all the way through to different forms of technical analysis. But if you're just starting out in trading, I really recommend getting that book on the far left. That's this one over here called the Trader's Money Management System. I want you to think about money management and risk control in trading as kind of like the seatbelt of a car. You don't want to start driving until you have that seatbelt on. Same thing with trading. You want to make sure that you have your risk control in place and ready to go before you actually start trading. Excuse me. All right, let's go on here. And then finally, you're going to see some forms of indicators and things that we put on the chart, our software puts on the chart. These are all trading tools that we use to trade the markets. We have the Applied Reality Trading System. We have the OWL, PTF, TLM, and ERI indicators. Those all go on the charts. So when we look at different charts, you're going to see that in live streaming play as we look at charts here. And then also at the bottom, I have the scanners, the Trade Confirmer, the Elliott Wave Scanner, and the Turbo Scanner. This is how we find our stock opportunities. And finally, a whole host of risk control software. And again, that's that seatbelt we want you to put on before you actually start trading the markets. All right, and finally, I just want to thank everybody for attending. And if you're watching the recording, thank you as well. All right, let's jump into the charts now and see what we've got cooking here. I wanted to start out with a couple of stocks and ETFs that people like to look at, and then I'm going to get into what everybody wants to look at out there. So let's see, we got Al here. Good morning, Al. And if you came in late, again, Merry Christmas, Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Great to have you here today. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, so type those in. I am going to look at gold, okay, so don't worry about that. I'm going to look at silver, too. Let me just start out with Bitcoin here. Now, once again, let me preference this with, I always use three charts. I use 60-minute chart on the far left. That's our short-term look. I use our daily chart here. That's our intermediate. And then I have the weekly chart over here, which is our long-term chart. Now, why do I use three charts? It helps in the timing of a trade. So I like to look at the long-term trend, I like to look at the intermediate trend, and then the short-term trend. And then I kind of want to, what I want to do is sync those up and trade in the direction of all three time frames. So that's kind of why we use that. It really helps in the outcome of the trade as well as when's the best price to look at it. So when we look at a stock or an ETF, whatever we look at today, I'm always going to start with the weekly and work my way back to the 60 minutes. So let's take a look at GBTC. GBTC is an ETF for Bitcoin. So if you're trading the Bitcoin futures, it's going to be the same situation in terms of where we think the Bitcoin is going to go. The prices will be different because the ETFs are a different price than the futures. All right, so here's kind of what our software is telling us. Now, these are triangles here, the ART system. So it actually put us in this trade a long time ago, all right, back really over the summer in July. And then it would have taken us out on this swing to the downside, and now it would have put us back in with a stop down here. So what do we do with this thing? Well, so far the stop is holding. We came down to a target zone here, which we drew in with fibs. So if you're into Elliott wave, this would be a wave 3, a wave 4, and of course there's 5 waves in an Elliott wave trend. So the target is going to be somewhere up here based on fib extensions. So we actually think Bitcoin, based on what's happening right now, is going to be between around 56 and 76 from a technical standpoint. That's the target zone on the ETF. All right, so kind of that's what we're thinking is going to happen. Now, we always want to protect ourselves in case that outcome does not prove to be reality, and we do that with our stops. But let's see what the tools are telling us. So we've got a pyramid stop here that's holding. We've got bullish momentum. This is the owl indicator down here. That's indicating basically that momentum is still positive, even though we've had a full pullback here. We're coming off that. And now we have a bullish PTF. So the PTF is kind of neat because take the highest high in that PTF area, which is the top here of what we labeled as a wave 3, and there's a 75% probability after the correction we'll go back up there. All right, so that's kind of positive, right? So it's looking good there. Let's take a look at the daily chart. And if we go over to the daily chart here, all right, not as rosy as on the weekly chart, right? So we've got a couple bearish pyramids coming down on this correction here. So every price bar on this chart represents a full day, whereas the one we looked at previously with a longer-term chart where every price bar represented a full week. So in this chart here, we have bearish divergence, and we just actually went above the stop-out level on a bearish pyramid. Okay, so you're not going to be short now, but you're not necessarily going to be long yet either. So this is still hasn't shown a great turnaround. Yeah, we've had a positive day yesterday, but not enough to really turn it around. Let's see what the 60-second chart says. All right, well, this is a much more bullish time frame here. However, what concerns us here is I think we may have a situation where we went here, we may go up here, and then come back down. Now, why do I say that? Because this could be an Elliott wave 3, a 4, and a 5. So we may be heading back down after we get a little further up, which is what these indicators are telling us is happening. So at this particular point, I would not enter this trade yet. Okay, I'd wait for things to turn more bullish on the daily chart, which is the one in the center. If you are in this trade already, then you have your stop below this pyramid. You just do nothing but hang in there, but adhere to your stop. So if you're stopped out, you got to get out, all right? So that's GBTC. Let's quickly go to gold and silver, because this is on everybody's mind these days as well. And gold's actually a market that I'd like to get into, but the tools that I use are saying not yet. So let's open up that weekly chart and take a quick look again. And we actually have a fairly good situation here. If we're 3, a 4, and then a Elliott wave 5 will be up here in a target zone in this area here. Let me draw that in for you. So right in there is a 5. So this is a 3, 4 bottom, 5. However, a little bearish owl coming in, but we do have that bullish PTF. So strong probability we'll get into that target zone. But it's also been going sideways. All right, people that have gotten into this a few months ago, even all the way back, this is a weekly chart. If you go back to about April, which is quite a long time, you haven't done very well. It's been going sideways. So let's see what the shorter term charts say on this. And we are not in this because of this chart right here. All right, it's showing a bearish PTF and a messy market. So we're going to stay out of this until this is no longer red. Yellow's okay, or green, but not red. This has got to go green too. And it's sloppy, all right? So we've kind of got a channel here. So let's see what happens on this. We're going to look at this every week, but this is a no-go for right now on an entry. It is popping up better on the 60-minute chart, all right? But again, not enough really to warrant a trade based on the daily chart. Silver is the last one, and then we're going to start taking a look at what people want to look at here for you all that are here. All right, silver. Now, every time you turn on a investment channel, everybody says to buy silver. Why? Well, they feel the electronic revolution, the batteries and everything, all our battery-powered cars and so forth are all going to need silver. So everybody's very bullish on silver. But technically what I do is always, that may draw me to a market, but not necessarily say to enter the market. So I like to look at the technicals first. I'm not going to miss it, so when it really takes off, I'll be able to get in fairly early. But I like to try to time when I get into these things so my money doesn't sit there and do nothing for months on months while I'm waiting for it to do something. So let's take a look at this. All right. So we had a little brief move up here, a possible 3 here. 4 in the target zone. That's a good sign. Bearish owl. Not quite yet. All right. So, some of the requirements have been met for this pullback to be over. Let's see what the daily chart says, and maybe it's getting close. All right, let's open up this daily chart here. Okay, so here we are here, and it looks like here that it is getting close, but we still have a red owl. So we're going to stay out of this. In fact, I might even wait for a bullish pyramid before I go, okay? So close. We want to watch this one every week as well, and of course, we want to go long if the trading tools tell us to, and if they do, that means this is probably a bottom here. If they tell us to hold out and wait, then we may get one more low before it's time. So we got to be careful in the timing, and then we have a bearish chart on the 60-minute, so it's kind of saying this is not the bottom here. All right, so probably going to go down a little bit more, or things will change and improve dramatically, and we'll see that on the 60-minute. But silver's a no-go right now. All right, now I can turn to others to take a look at. Al, let's take a look at your DENN. DENN. All right, let's see what's cooking here. All right, markets, of course, are closed today. All right, so let's see what we got cooking. Let's open up that weekly chart. And we do have a bullish PTF right now, and we have a bullish pyramid way down here. So if you look at this, we got actually a couple bullish pyramids. Let me just magnify this a little bit out by doing that. So your first entry would have been down in here on this one, but you would have had to wait on the pyramid until they go green. So you wouldn't have gotten in until about here. All right, so you can almost get in now, Al, at that same price. Okay, this is bullish. If you want to wait for a green here, fine. But again, don't forget this is the weekly chart. Let's see what the short-term charts, because most people trade off the daily chart. Let's open that bad boy up. Okay. All right, a little messy today. Okay, a little bit messy. I'd probably wait for a bullish pyramid, and that's kind of important at this point because it's a sideways market. So let's wait on that a little bit more. And basically the trade, the reason I'd even consider the trade is because of the bullish PTF on the weekly, and things look a little bit better, of course, bullishness-wise on the 60. So you'll probably get a pullback in a little while in this that may give the opportunity for a bullish pyramid, but I would not jump into this yet. It's not one of my favorites. Let's just say that. All right, WDC. If I can trade in the direction of the Elliott wave and I also have a PTF, then that's a home run. But when I have a PTF and a sloppy market, got to be careful on that. All right, WDC. All right, Al, this was another one for you. All right, let's see what we got cooking on this. Kind of a sloppy market. All right, we do have a pennant forming. Check that out. Okay, so pennant is a form of technical analysis, and basically you're connecting all the highs and lows, but they're coming down in a descending triangle. So what happens is, as we get to the point of the triangle, or the flag, if you want to look at it that way, the market becomes compressed. And so any new information that comes in can cause it to pop. And usually the direction it pops out of the triangle or pennant, okay, is the direction it's going to trend. So you want to watch this one. It's still technically inside the triangle, so you might have to wait a little bit longer. But let's take a look at the daily chart here. And we do have some movement off the bottom, but I don't see any active bullish pyramids yet, and so nothing there yet, and bullishness on the 60-minute chart as well. Now, you can always trade a 60-minute chart, because the 60-minute chart may put you in for a couple days or a week. So if you decide to make that your primary time frame, you can do that, all right, but it's a very short-term trade. In this case here, all right, we have bullishness here, coming up here, we have a major high here. So I would, at this point, honestly, I would wait for it to break that pennant on the daily chart. I would not jump the gun on this one. because a lot can happen. All right, so that is, which one was this? That was WDC, and Al, that was for you. All right, let's keep moving on here. I covered gold, and Joe, how are you? Let's take a look at LAC. All right, so first thing we're going to do is take a look at that weekly chart here. All right, if you love Elliott Wave, you'll love this one because there's no question about it. This move up is a 3. Now, what's interesting about this one is that before this big move occurred here, you would have thought this was a 3 and this was a 4, and we were going into 5. However, what the owl does and does so well, as soon as the momentum on this leg up was far higher than the other leg, it's not a wave 5. This is a wave 3 still. And that's one of the beautiful thing about the owl is that it is keeping track of that for you so you don't get confused on which one is 3. All right, so this is still 3. This was a minor 4 in 3, and we have a green PTF. Now, we've already come back to a target zone of 4. However, all right, if this continues on up here without this going red, then this is wave 3 still. All right, we have to have a red owl before we have a major 4. So any pullback is a minor wave inside the major wave, provided the owl has not changed color. So we want to keep an eye on this. Now, it is coming down, the momentum. It did hit this small target zone here. But what could happen is it could go further down, it could meander, and then once it goes down again, that turns it red. So you may be in for a long-term situation here while this correction works its way out. Let's see if the daily charts help us here. All right, so we got a bearish pyramid here as put in by the art software, and we have a red here. So yeah, this is still moving down. You definitely don't want to be long here. And on the 60-minute chart here, all right, you're in a situation where you're still coming down. Little bullish momentum coming back, so you may get a pull up here, but this is technically still a significant movement down. All right, now, if you're trading this, all right, and you're long right now, and you want to know what to do, all right, put your stop here, or right below the retracement area. But also, too, you may want to scale out if it goes any lower than this point here. So it all depends on where you get in, how much profit you're looking at. But the pyramids have done a great job of putting you in early on this trend right here, and then trailing your stops up. That's how we do it with the pyramid. So your pyramid on this time frame, if you've been in this one for a long time, would be right there. All right, so don't get in it now, but if you're in it, that's where I put my stop. All right, great. Ray, how are you? Let's take a look at Ray's here. VRTX. VRTX. There we go. All right, so let's take a look at this bad boy here. All right, so weekly chart first. All right, it's coming off a movement down. No longer, the bearish pyramid has been stopped out, so no longer active. Things are turning a little bullish on the owl. This is yellow, so it's no longer red. All right, now let's take a look and see if we can look at some form of an Elliott wave count. So it looks like this is 3. Now, the next thing we want to do is see if this one hit its fib target zone down here. So we want to go back to where it started this movement and find the bottom of 2, which is going to be right around here. And as you can see, it hit its target zone for wave 4. All right, so that's important. So we have 3, we have 4 in the target zone here. The million-dollar question is that a bottom? Okay, is that a bottom? Once you know that, then you're better off taking the trade. All right, so that could certainly be a bottom, no question about it. In terms of Elliott wave 2, you usually have an ABC correction, so that could be A. There's B. I like to be able to see things visually clearly when I'm looking at the Elliott wave as well. All right, so that's lining up nicely. Okay, this is so far so good. Let's take a look at our other charts. All right, so daily chart. Look at this, popping off the bottom there, pyramid here. We just got a bullish PTF. Check that out. All right, bullish out. All right, this is looking good. Here's the issue with this right now. Where do you put your stop? If you put your stop anywhere in this area here, you stand a high probability of getting stopped out, because that first leg up, all right, can have a nasty correction before it goes. So you got to be careful about putting your stop here. Now, if this is a bottom, then you had a nice move up here, and then you did have a big pullback. So this could be a great place for a stop. So it would have been great to have gotten in long as soon as we went above that pyramid there again. All right, so a little bit, the longer you wait, the more risky the trade gets and the smaller your trade size is. So maybe a good play on this, and it's an expensive stock, would be to buy an option and limit your risk to the amount you pay for the option. Okay, so if you don't want to risk any more than 2% of your trading account size and you have a $50,000 account, then buy $1,000 worth of options. All right, so this would be a great candidate for an option, and you could do whatever play you want or just buy a call. And I would make it a long-term option, okay, at least 6 months, preferably even longer if you can, because this is going to move probably well above, I would say about 350 on this. I think you're going to get out of this. And look at the 60-minute chart, bullish as well. So this is actually a great one for an option. Everybody should write this down if they're thinking about one they want to take. Now, if you don't want to buy options and buy in here, all right, lower your trade size enough, but such an expensive stock that you'd have to have a large account to do that. So I would probably at this point, if you can't do an option, wait for a pullback and then look to go, okay? So if we want, we can look at that one next week too. And Ray, thank you for sharing that. For some, that will be a great trade. All right, let's take a look. Stan wants us to look at the BTF. What do you got there? BTC, okay, Bitcoin. All right, you want to look? Let's look at this one first, okay? This is Ethereum here, and basically, I'm going to look at yours in just a second. On this one here, still moving to the upside. A little bit of bearishness came back in, but this is still a bullish pattern overall on the long-term chart. All right, now let's focus in on BTC, USD, and see what's cooking on that bad boy. And this is Bitcoin. Now, we looked at the ETF earlier. Okay, so this is the actual forex Bitcoin. So let's take a look at this and see how it looks here. Let's open up that weekly chart. All right, so very similar, as I said, you're going to have a very similar dynamic as you did on the actual ETF. So here's our pyramid. This is where your stop wants to be for this. All right, and we do have a little bearish divergence in here. We no longer have a green PTF here like we do on the ETF. So a little different. But if your stop's here and this continues to bounce up, you'll be in great shape. If not, you're going to be stopped out. Now, your first entry on this technically could have been down here or here, so you're sitting with a lot of profit on this anyway. But, you know, there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin right now, and some good, some not. Some people think it'll go really, really super high. Other people are a little concerned about it. So on this particular point, keep your stop in place in case things break down. But that stop is far enough away to protect you and lock in some profits if you've been in this for quite some time. Let's take a look at the smaller time frames and see if that's giving us an entry at this point. And if we open the daily chart up, not so much here, guys, because we got an active bearish pyramid and we have a bearish owl. So if you're trying to time this, you would not want to go in at this point. If you're in it, use the stop on the weekly, but don't enter it now. And on the 60-minute chart, it is bullish. So if you were trading this chart, you would have been stopped out already on this pyramid. You do have a bullish PTF, but you know that PTF, the highest price is only right here. So it's, you know, a little higher, but not, you know, a lot. So this may pull back a little bit. Let's look at it next week. I would not enter it at this point because the daily chart is bearish. All right. All right, let's go take a look at some others here. Let's go back. We'll go back to Ninja Trader here and take a look at Dow Jones. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones real quick. Now, the Dow Jones, of course, is an index on the overall market. Everybody knows that, I'm sure. Give me a second to find it. Where is that bad boy? Okay, there you go. All right, so here's the Dow Jones. Now, I'm going to open up this weekly chart here. And if you belong to one of my subscription services where we really go over what we think is going to happen with the market, technically we're still in a bullish uptrend. We're experiencing a Santa Claus rally this week. The Elliott wave high on this is around 37,000, so we're pretty darn close, and we're in the target range. Now, the frightening thing about this, and this is what you got to be prepared for, is according to the Elliott wave, at some point, this baby's going to come down. All right? The party doesn't last forever. The million-dollar question is when, and the only way to answer that is look at the support levels. Okay? We have to go below some of these points here before we can really say that we are starting into some form of a bearish trend. Now, when that happens, we expect the market to correct and go down. Now, buckle your seatbelt on this one. Between 23,273 all the way down to 15,001 or 15,014. That's a hell of a drop, okay? When it gets finally down here, all right, people aren't going to want to have anything to do with stocks, trust me. Okay, that's how that works. How long is it going to take to get down there when it finally breaks? Probably years. All right, so this is where you kind of, if you're interested in this kind of analysis, definitely take advantage of the Moore service or the Inner Oracle service, because we keep track of this thing and put it under a microscope. Now, here's the COVID low here, and check this out. That created a red PTF, so there's a 75% probability when this baby corrects, it's going even below that. So we're going to get down into the teens in this from a probability standpoint when it breaks. It hasn't broken quite yet, but it's getting close. Now, let's take a look at the daily chart here. All right, kind of messy. All right, it's been a little high, a little low. We've had bullish, bearish days. All that kind of stuff is what you see near a top, and so we may get one more high. Here's the 37,000. This is the upper target zone. Whoops. This is the upper target zone here, okay, for the Elliott wave. But we are already in the target zone, so it could end at any time. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Santa Claus rally continues, we get up to that level, and then we see a change in trend at some point. So 2022 is going to be an interesting year. The other thing, too, with the Dow, pay attention to what happens in January. Normally, the month of January is a very telling sign for what happens on the Dow for the remainder of the year. Okay, so pay attention to that. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, it's recording the Santa Claus rally here that actually started here, a little dip down. So that's kind of what we're seeing. We've got a green PTF here on the 60, so I don't think the Santa Claus rally is done yet. Doesn't mean we may not get a couple days of a pullback, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see more highs next week sometime. So that's the Dow. All right, great one here. Let's keep going here. Don't want to cut anybody short here. Let's see what else we got here. All right, HIMX. Let's take a look at that one. Is this helping you guys? All right, fun? All right, so let's do this here. All right, this is kind of an interesting one. All right, Al, this is for you. All right, let's take a look at this bad boy and see what's cooking. Interesting dynamics here. All right, so the pyramid's got you in down here, stopped out here, and this is the top of wave 3, so this is 4. Pyramid formed in here. You're not going to take that because you had a green PTF, all right? So that's how you kind of connect the dots and decide which signals to take. Now, we've had the bearish owl. You have to have that for a major wave 4. So that's a good sign. So probably what we're looking at is 3, 4. Let's draw the fibs in just to see if it hit that connecting dot. And that seems to be a bottom, so we'll put that on a wave 2, draw it up around there, and look at that. Hit that particular correction site perfectly. All right, let's just say, I'm not saying it is, but let's just say that that's a bottom. So then where's the next target zone? Grab your fib extensions, and we'll draw those in, basically anchoring at the same 2 and 3, and then assuming this is a bottom, we're looking at a high possibly of 19.38 all the way up to 25.59. But don't get too excited yet. Let's take a look at these smaller time frames. All right, so daily chart. All right, wow. Look at all the pyramids down. Could have made a nice little bit of money on that. And now look at this. Bullish pyramid, bullish. So you're getting a long signal here. So everybody grab their pen. Write this one down. HIMX. All right, this so far is the best one I've seen right now. Let's take a look at the 60, and that's moving up off its bottom too. Okay, so I would go ahead and take the trade here even though the owl is red on the weekly chart, I like to get in early, and I'll do it if I get a pyramid on the daily with a green owl and a green PTF on the weekly. So this is a trade I would take. All right, stock can go right under the pyramid. So from a standpoint of checking that out, your stock's going to be right around 1077 on this. All right? All right, round of applause for Al. Thank you. Okay, good one. All right, let's keep going here. All right, let's take a look at Cat for Ray. Little caterpillar. All right, let that load a second. And let's open up that weekly chart. All right, we've got a wave 3 that may have just completed. We got a red owl. So here again is one where very interesting. Let's draw those fibs. Let me just make sure. All right, so we got a 1, 2. This is a weekly chart, so we go way back to 2009 for the start of this. Let's grab a retracement from 2 up here. All right, so we got a little more distance to go before this correction of what we call a wave 4 is over, because it hasn't hit the target zone. So we got a 3 and we got a 4. We also got an active bearish pyramid and a red owl. So you don't want to go long yet, okay? Do not go long. If you're long, you shouldn't be, because actually you should have been stopped out on this pyramid here, right near the top. All right, so you should really be out of this market right now. If anything, and you wanted to try a short trade to get to the target zone, you can give your risk or reward and all your trade size and everything, and it worked out, you could do that. All right, if you look at the daily chart here, all right, so it's kind of a little messy, but not bullish. And here, same on the 60-minute. In fact, we have a red PTF. So this is not one to go into yet. All right, you can keep it on the radar, because is when it gets down to that wave 4 zone here, then the momentum changes. That's when you want to think about pulling the trigger on that. Okay, so that's CAT. All right, MA. Let's keep going here. All right, this is a very clean chart on the weekly chart. Now, here's the situation with this. This mimics basically the Dow Jones. There's your COVID low, pre-COVID high, and red PTF. Almost exactly what the Dow looks like. And in major stocks, this happens, okay? So what's going to happen with this bad boy? All right, so this may get part of the Christmas rally. We may go on up. I got to be honest with you, any purchases at this point on stocks that mimic the Dow are risky. Why? Because we think we're near a top. So how much more room can it go? When you buy near a top, there's more risk in going long than going short, right? So in a case like this, we got a red owl, and you would have been stopped out already. So I can't see a case of putting you long on this. Let's see what the smaller time frames say. Look at the red PTFs, and yeah, it's not looking good. All right, so don't go near that one at this point. All right, that's that. Let's take a look at V, Verizon, and see what cooks up on that. So on this one here, beautiful chart. I mean, there's no way you can look at that and not say Elliott Wave 3, right? No way. Same thing, mimics the Dow. All right, again, almost the same exact forecast I would give it on the other. The only difference is the lower time frames are a little more bullish. So again, on this one here, red owl at this point, you do have a bullish pyramid, but the difference between this pyramid and one of the others that we looked at is like this. This is a P pyramid. This is an MP. Okay? So the dominant trend is always established by the P pyramids, not the MPs. The MPs are minor pyramids showing you there's a correction in the dominant trend. Now, if prices get above here, we get another pyramid up there, things can change. But right now, that's the way it stays. So no go on that one. All right, let's take a look at ON. And on this one here, still in the midst of a wave 3. All right, a little bit of a hiccup here during COVID, but again, you have not been stopped out of this. Pyramid is here, bullish here, so this is technically a good trend, and you've got things going here. So, the only thing I don't like about this is one of our other rules is when you have this many pyramids in a row, if we have 4, we do not enter a long trade. And the reason for that is because after 4, you get closer to a trend exhaustion. All right, so this is kind of overextended, is what I'm telling you. All right, if you're in it now, hey, your stop would be right here, you'd be really happy. But to jump in it now, not so much. All right, let's see here. Okay, coming down here. I'm looking at the list here. Okay, ALKS. ALKS. Try not to miss anybody here. Joe, I'll get to yours in just a second as well. All right, so AKLS. All right, bearish on the daily chart. And on the weekly chart, it was bearish. Okay, so here's the situation with this. This looks like maybe a situation that could resolve itself like that. This is bearish. We may get a little correction. We have bullishness here. So where is this thing going to correct to? Well, here's your stop on the daily chart. And it's no accident that that primary pyramid, which is basically telling you the trend is down, has it stopped so far away because it's trying to give this market a little bit of room to breathe. So let's see kind of where we think this thing is going. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets up to $25 and roughly 40 cents to $28 and then sells off again. All right. So actually the trend seems to be down and we have a red PTF on the daily. So that's kind of how I would look at that. ALKS. All right. WST. And I know I've gone over a little bit, but I'm trying to get everybody's before we end today. All right, WST, let's open up this bad boy. And once again, beautiful Elliott Wave 3 with a green PTF. So we're going to go higher than this. But again, to jump into this trade right now, not so sure because it's such an extended trend. I don't like to chase trends. And we are seeing bearish divergence possibly, if it makes another high, which the PTF says should happen, we may see bearish divergence, okay, if that occurs, which is kind of another indication that you don't want to jump in too late. But no question about it, a wave 3. Now, when this thing finally does correct, it's going to be a big one, kind of like the Dow, right? If you look at this thing. So if we draw in a fib retracement here, we're talking, 311 down to 212 when it finally corrects. So far it's not. It's bullish now. All right, and it looks like, according to even the daily chart, we're going to make one more high. So you got a pyramid entry here. All right, we got a PTF high here. So let's see where this thing goes. You don't want to be short. You want to be long, if anything. And again, the PTF is saying a high of 469. Will you get to 500? You could. All right, but again, you got to be careful on that. But that is definitely okay for a long trade. You're just getting in late. And that is WST. All right, FTNT. God, I love it. You guys are great. Bringing a ton of symbols. Super. All right, another one, okay? So if you're long on this one, this is a 3. Still a very, the owls even marked it as a 3. Very bullish momentum. You no longer have a green PTF. So you had that for a little while. This is yellow. When it's neutral like that and yellow, basically what that means is that it's neutral. It has no opinion. So you can go long or short on a neutral PTF. You never want to go short against a red one for the most part, against a green one rather. So that's how it works. And if you're long, then the green one will help you know where the next potential short-term target zone is. All right, so in this situation here, your stop needs to be here. Okay, that's going to protect you. Notice that this has been a big move all the way down here, all the way up here. So you're sitting really pretty. You could have gotten in about 100. It looks like about 150 something, and your stop would be what, 275 or something. Not such a bad run over a fairly short period of time. So what do you do now? All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3 pyramids in a row. All right, we've got a fairly strong owl. let's see what the short-term charts say. All right, so it's getting a little toppy. Probably one more high with the Santa Claus rally. Again, if you were long on this, you would have been stopped out by now. So I don't think it's got much potential for much further movement to the upside. Very risky trade to take at this point. If you're in it, use that stop on the weekly. All right, let me just see. That's FTNT. And Zeke is asking, does a minor pyramid ever become a peak? Great question. The answer really is no. But what happens here, Zeke, is that the reason it's minor is because that point of the apex is not above the stop of the most recent P pyramid in the opposite direction. So that's kind of how they work. So you would have to wait for a new pyramid to have the apex above the area where you would have been stopped out on the P pyramid. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's see here. I think that's it. Okay. All right, Zeke's asking another question. Love questions. All right, if a lower time frame has less than 4 pyramids, is it okay to enter then? Yeah, probably. And also too, every chart is unique. We'd have to look and see. So if you got a really strong PTF on the daily and 4 pyramids on a 60-minute chart, but the P pyramid that you may be entering in also on the daily is set below some of those other pyramids, yes, you want to take it. So you got to look at everything. Now, when the 60-minute chart, if you feel that when you look at the daily chart and you've got 4 pyramids on the 60 and the market's a little extended on the daily, then wait. Okay, then wait. So everything is going to depend on what your intentions are. I try to get in really early on trends. And if that daily chart is showing me that I'm getting in early enough and my stop's going to protect me, even if the 60-minute chart deteriorates, then I'll take the trade. Okay, it all depends. Maybe we'll come across one at some point, when we do these on Friday, and we can have that as an example. But great question. All right, so I think I went through them all. We made it, right? So again, I want to wish everybody really a great Christmas holiday. Thank you for coming today. I love the fact we're getting more and more people every Friday. We just started this, recently, so it's really good to have everybody here. What do you think's the best stock for today? What do you think? Which one you think did the best? Everybody vote. My vote is probably HIMX, but what do you guys think? I'll look over here. All right. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Little delay here. So, Joe, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. All right, for me, it's HIMX, okay? So that's the one I think I like the best today. So that's it, and we'll be back here next Friday again. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Have a great one and a safe one with your family, and we'll see you back here next week.